Alright, this video is going to be about U.S. imperialism. Um, and here we have the definition of imperialism. Uh, the policy of extending a country's power and influence through diplomacy or military force. You can apply that definition to Manifest Destiny in America's push westward. You can also apply it to American-Mexican War, but this video is going to focus on the Spanish-American War and the build-up context of that, and then some modern examples. So, December 2nd, in 1823, President James Monroe gave a speech to Congress about what is now the Monroe Doctrine. The four main points of the Monroe Doctrine is: 1. The United States would not interfere with international affairs or wars between European powers. 2. The United States would not interfere with existing colonies and would recognize them. 3. The Western Hemisphere was closed to future colonization. And 4. Any future attempts by European powers to oppress the countries in Western Europe would be seen as hostile actions against America. Here you can see kind of this picture of the Monroe Doctrine. A German Kaiser with some funny beard action, a wealthy, I'm gonna guess, a British man, and Uncle Sam drawing a line in the sand. Just, no more. The reasons behind why America became this imperial power, our rise of imperialism in America, can be traced to economic reasons. We wanted to sell our products for our growing economy, and we also had an influx of immigrants, which led to anxiety in America about what was going to happen with America with these immigrants straining the economy. And then also there was the panic with the failure of a British bank in America, which led to actually American Depression at the time. But this guy, Alfred Thayer Mahan, part of the U.S. Navy, and was pro-imperialism, wanted to control the seas and international commerce, which is what America was actually going toward. To become a trading and sea power. To trade with Asia, which is over here, next to Japan, to the left of Japan over here in this top left corner, we would need colonies, because ships at the time were steam powered, and steam powered ships did not have a very long range, so we need colonies like Hawaii to get to Japan. This is actually a painting for the Treaty of which let America trade with Japan, ending their period of isolation from the world, and opened us up with trade. Actually, the guy that went to Japan on America's behalf to sign the treaty and create it was Matthew Perry. So now on to the Cuban side. Cuba had a huge sugar industry, and America was part of it. There was money in it. A lot of powerful and wealthy Americans invested in Cuba in their sugar industry and had land in Cuba. So when the Spanish were oppressing the Cubans in the Cuban Revolt, it hurt. It threatened to hurt American economy and hurt the people and its money. And the Cubans actually been revolted against the Spanish multiple times, but the one America got involved in started in 1896, and we got involved in 1898, the same year that it ended. President William McKinley told Spain to get out of Cuba or face war. This was, kind of drawing on the Monroe Doctrine of you're oppressing a people in our sphere of influence, get out. This is our land, get out, or our area, get out. After war was declared on Spain, because they didn't leave, Congress enacted the amendment, an amendment to place a condition on the military's presence in Cuba. kept America from annexing Cuba and would leave after Cuba had gained independence, called the Teller Amendment, it says here. Enacted in April 20th, 1898, the U.S. promised not to annex Cuba, and the U.S. would leave control of the island to its people. The U.S. would help Cuba gain independence and withdraw all its troops from the country. Here we have what's left of the USS Maine. While it's kind of misleading, some people think that the USS Maine was the reason we went to war with the Spanish after it was claimed the USS Maine blew up because of sabotage in Havana Harbor. This actually is not true. The believe that the USS Maine blew up from internal engine issues. It was just an accident. No foul play involved. Then from that, yeah, actually, this definitely would not help. Is the to hell with Spain. Remember the Maine, little pin. Imagine that would, of course, change the public's view of what had happened, especially throughout history. From the Spanish-American War, or like Spanish-American-Cuban-Filipino War, got Teddy Roosevelt and his Rough Riders. From this war, Teddy Roosevelt became a hero and extremely popular with the people back in America. This kind of led and helped him become the vice president later on, and then because of his vice presidency, the president was assassinated, and he became president. From the Spanish-American War, America actually got the Philippines. While the Philippines were fighting for their independence along with Cuba, we actually occupied the Philippines, and the people originally thought we were there to help them, to force the Spanish out, which we did, but we were there to do the same thing as the Spanish and occupy them, which they were not a fan of, and it led to the Filipino-American War. Philippines is actually still under our control now. It's American territory. I believe they have their own government, though. They just don't have as much control of their own choices as we do. Some more modern examples of imperialism would be things like the Truman Doctrine and the Marshall Plan. The Truman Doctrine promised American help to any country trying to remain free from communism. And it was also called containment, as it was used to contain communism. The Marshall Plan was to provide economic aid to war-torn Europe and had huge political purpose, like the Truman Doctrine, to help create a politically stable, democratic, and capitalist post-war Europe. Prevent them from becoming communism, falling to communism. Example of kind of Americans' efforts of imperialism in Europe would be things like when Germany was split, Berlin was split. Because of Berlin being in the Russian side, the Russians actually closed off Berlin from any U.S. help, any supplies or anything. So the U.S. did the Berlin airlift, something that's kind of a marvel of history, that they pulled that off to supply a whole city by airlift, by supplies and aircraft, something that could still be an issue today to try and pull off a modern city. Here's the credits.